Abandoning the car to its watery fate, he set off in search of a pub. He did not have to look far. A couple of 100 yards or so beyond the boatyard stood, or rather slumped, an uninviting, doleful building whose weather-beaten sign announced it to be the Goat, a free house. Outside on the gravel, some damp and fragile-looking picnic benches were carelessly strewn, engraved with lichen, as were the walls of the building itself. Around the perimeter, a number of plastic tubs were displayed, containing the dried and blackened remains of some kind of patio plant, possibly roses. The windows were hung with limp, faded red curtains. Wordsworth haltingly entered, his expectations low. The interior did not disappoint. As unwelcoming as the outside was unpromising, a cold quarry tile floor made the dreary bar echo as he closed the door behind him. A number of wooden settles lined the walls, behind unadorned dark wood tables, and a handful of wheel-backed chairs were wearily distributed around the room, suggesting some kind of sluggish evacuation at a previous session. The seating made no concession to comfort. The only gesture towards decoration were a few dozen water jugs hooked to the ceiling beams, bearing the logos of Scotch whisky brands, and some horse brasses nailed above the fireplace. The ceiling boasted a rich nicotine patina, clearly not having felt the lick of a decorator's brush in more than a generation. The one picture on the wall was a cheaply framed, fading photograph of the FA Cup winning Ipswich Town football team from 1978. There were no customers. As Wordsworth approached the bar, he was ignored by a surly-looking man who languidly wiped some glasses with a tea towel. His appearance did not convey the impression of a healthy lifestyle. He was an overlarge, red-faced man with fat, rheumy eyes and wet lips. He breathed noisily through an open mouth, and greasy beads of perspiration adhered to his head. He wore an unironed shirt, suspiciously nylon in Wordsworth's judgment, with dark brown sweat stains in the armpits, suggesting that at some point in the past the shirt had been worn to perform some kind of task. Wordsworth had his doubts. "You are open, I presume?" Wordsworth asked. "If you're quick," said the man, looking up at the clock with a minimum of movement. "What time do you close?" 2 o'clock. Wordsworth studied the clock for a moment. It gave the time as 10 minutes to 1. He gave this some thought. "Are you serving food?" "Crisps." "Well, I'd really like something more substantial," said Wordsworth. "Try the oak," said the man, and before Wordsworth could ask for directions, "High end." Wordsworth turned and left. Had he ever met anybody so rude? No wonder he had no customers. How do these people expect to earn a living? He held to strong principles about businesses that failed to market themselves. Marketing was his area of expertise, and he had no time for people who disrespected the craft to which he had dedicated an entire, now abandoned, career. He stood at the doorway for a while and reasoned that High End could only be up the long incline to his right, as the broken potholed road down which he had driven half an hour earlier was the only road in the village. He solemnly vowed, as he trudged towards the road, that he'd never go back into that disgusting place should he ever find himself in this shit-hole neck of the woods again, which he very much doubted.